Yeah, wow. I have not been very subtle about my character preferences during these videos at all. But hey, what can I say? I guess I have a type. It's no secret that the majority of the main characters in the show are female. All of the main 6, all of the princesses, and seemingly 90% of the Ponyville residents. And, you know, I get it. The original target audience of the show is little girls, so it makes sense to have the main cast be characters that they can relate to. Which answers the question for that very minor part of the population. But what about the rest of Ponyville? Where are all the stallions there? Like, we know they have a school with a bunch of kids in them. Where did those come from? Does Ponyville just get an annual delivery of foals shipped in from elsewhere in Equestria? Do they have a Philly mob spawner somewhere nearby? Or are Big Mac, Thunderlane, Caramel, and that one construction pony just solely responsible for keeping up Ponyville's population, if you know what I mean? I could also start going down a whole conspiracy rabbit hole and try to explain how the show might actually be a subversion of old gender stereotypes. A world in which the women go out to work while the men stay at home and take care of the house and kids, etc. But that just feels way too serious a topic to discuss on my dumb-ass channel. Plus, you know, the whole reason I wanted to make this video wasn't to discuss historical political issues. I just wanted an excuse to talk about stallions for like 20 minutes. So, for this video, we, and by we I mean I, will be ranking all the stallions in MLP to see who is the absolute best. And spoilers, it's all of them. Well, except for you two, of course. Let's start by what characters we want to include. And for once, I think we don't need a bunch of rules for this. A good cutoff point seems to be if they have a recurring speaking role throughout the show. So we include characters like Sunburst, Soren, and Braeburn, but not ones like Hoity Toity, Jackpot, Grandpa Gruff, and unnamed Kirin number 37. And yes, we will also be looking at non-pony characters. That should leave us with the following 32 characters, as I am now starting to reevaluate how much work this is actually going to be. I did decide to include or exclude some characters based on my personal preferences, so make sure to leave a comment if you feel like I missed one. And how will we be ranking these, you ask? Well, just based on how much I like them. Nothing more, nothing less. Though I will try to at least somewhat justify my choices. Though, unfortunately, I couldn't really find a good way to comprehensively rank this many characters. But then I remembered the grid I used for my species ranking a couple months ago. So let's use that instead. But since this is only 16 squares, let's double it up. And let's move all the existing numbers around. And let's add all the new ones. And perfect, let's begin! Alphabetal is first on the list. And for now, I don't have anywhere else to put him but in first place since we don't have anyone to compare him with yet. But overall, he's a pretty solid pick. He's got good looks, a steady job, and a seemingly popular business. He's very agile, but maybe a little bit old, and seems to love games and tricks a little bit too much. But he's also what appears to be the ruler and the father of the Bridalwood. So, keeping it up with the ruler theme, Prince Rutherford also made the list, having multiple appearances in episodes like Party Pooped and Not Asking for Trouble. And honestly, I don't really get the yaks. Yona can sometimes be cute and all as part of the Young Six, but all of the grown-up yaks just seem so underdeveloped as a species from a writing perspective. All they do is smash and destroy things. Sure, they have their holidays and really like bad music, but that's not really enough to justify me liking them in any way. I'm also just not a big fan of their appearance in general. Rutherford goes below Alphabetal for now. Another character whose appearance is just not my thing is Bulk Biceps. I'm not actually sure if we ever hear him say anything other than the grunts and... Yeah! But since he's a pretty prominent background character, I decided to include him nonetheless. But, you know, as much as I like me a strong stallion, this isn't exactly what I had in mind. Bulk Biceps is a fun character for side gags, there's no denying that, but I'm personally just not a big fan. Let's put him right in the middle of the previous two. Keeping it local to Ponyville, Thunderlane makes his first appearance during the Season 2 episode Hurricane Fluttershy, where he's honestly kind of an asshole. He makes some later appearances in Wonderbolt's Academy, Rainbow Falls, and his main appearance in the Season 7 episode Marks and Recreation, where it turns out he became a full-fledged Wonderbolt. So what does that give us? He's a good flyer, he's strong, he's a Wonderbolt, he's kind of pretty, and he cares a lot about his little brother. But it also seems like he's a bit of an ass sometimes, and he does give off that vibe that he's a little bit stupid. But honestly, good looks while being a little bit dull really just adds to his charm for me. I honestly think I'm gonna put Thunderlane in first place for now. There are two more Ponyville locals on this list we can cover, Mr. Cake and Cranky. And yes, I'm doing these in a set of two, I need to get through this list, okay? both of them are just kind of minor characters that I don't really have strong feelings towards. Mr. Cake is just okay. He runs the family business with his wife, he's always stressed because he has 2 kids and Pinky to take care of at the same time, but ultimately he manages, and Sugar Cube Corner has become an iconic part of Ponyville. Meanwhile, Cranky just kind of exists, I guess? He was immediately harassed when he first moved in, only to find the lost love of his life thanks to Pinkie Pie's plot armor, and he's also technically the main character in one of the most popular episodes in the entire show, Slice of Life, which counts for something, I guess. And while I get his, well, cranky attitude, it doesn't always fit very well with the friendly pastel world that is Equestria. I think Mr. Cake is a good fit above Bulk Biceps, while Cranky can go right below. With all of Ponyville out of the way, let's take a look at some of the villains on here. First off, the bully ponies from Rainbow Dash's past, who, while researching this video, I learned actually have names. We have Hoops, Dumbbell, and Score. However, that doesn't change the way I feel about these guys. They honestly just suck. Not as a character, just as a pony. Their main styles look like they're wannabe K-pop artists, and Score was clearly inspired by Mystery from the Saja Boys. They can go straight to the bottom of the list. I would rather hang out with Rutherford than these losers. The next villain, in alphabetical order at least, is Discord. And this is the part of the video where I realized that with how inconsistently I'm ranking these characters, I have kind of cornered myself. Thunderlane is currently in the top spot just because he's hot, even though he's not that interesting as a character. And Discord is anything but hot, but is one of the most fun and interesting characters in the show. So, which of these do I prioritize? Looks or character? Who am I kidding? I'm already making this entire video to have an excuse to talk about Stallions the entire time. It's looks all the way for the purpose of this video, meaning Discord goes below Thunderlane. Now, there are 2 more G5 characters on the list, and since Discord also appears in G5, and I couldn't think of a better segue, we're taking a look at every pony's favorite sheriff, Sprout. Sprout gets a lot of shit for his depiction in the movie, which is honestly fair. His entire thing is just that he wants to make his mummy proud of him, and then he gets power hungry when he's actually in charge. It's a logical character arc, just not an enjoyable one. I was originally going to say that fortunately his looks more than make up for it, before actually re-evaluating what he looks like. Like, sure, it's not that bad, but also nowhere near good enough to get anywhere near the top as this video goes on. I think putting him below Alphabetical is already a generous enough placement for now. And from one annoying baby to another, it's Quibble Pants. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Stranger Than Fanfiction. It's a fantastic parody of fandom culture by the writers, and I was quite sad to see it lose the vote in the popular episode polls against the times they are a changeling of all episodes. I can only assume that Quibble Pants was written specifically for this episode, and in the context of Stranger Than Fanfiction, he's a great counterpart to Rainbow Dash as a Daring Do superfan. But in general, he just seems like he'd be annoying to be around, almost as if you're living with Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. I think he's a good fit right above Sprout. Quibble is not as annoying as he is, but nowhere near the looks or charisma as Alphabetical has. And let's also just get some other characters out of the way that most people would call annoying, like Garble. And honestly, I was on the verge of just excluding Garble altogether like I did with Naysay or Zephyr. But if I were to exclude every single character I did not like, it would really just be a full video of me simping over Stallions, which would be boring as hell to watch. So, you know what, let's also just bring back Zephyr and Naysay and figure out in what order they're going to occupy the bottom spots of the list. As a matter of fact, can I get 2 more extra spots right at the end of the chart there? Thanks! So now the question becomes, who is worse? I think I can confidently say that Garble is the best out of these 3. He's absolutely insufferable, don't get me wrong, but Zephyr is my least favorite character in the entire show, and Naysay is straight up a racist. And as much as I would love to put Zephyr into last place just because he sucks, I don't think I could justify putting a racist above him just because I find him so annoying. Zephyr gets the second last spot, and Naysay goes all the way to the bottom. I also highly doubt this bottom 3 is going to change by the end of the video. Now, we kind of switched off of the villains after Discord, so let's continue with those. Dr. Caballeron does technically have multiple speaking roles in the various Daring Do episodes, which means he counts for this video. I'm not complaining, because he does look kind of good. I mean, sure, he's like evil and all, and always seems to lose, and is probably quite a bit older than I am, but I can definitely fix him. I'll put Caballeron right below Discord. Now, it would be logical if we continued with the villains, but who likes consistency anyway, am I right? I realize there are a lot of stallions on the list already that I'm just not a big fan of, and that are probably going to end up pretty low on the overall list once we're done. So I think it's only fair to balance those out with some of my more favorite stallions. Starting off with one that might surprise people, Flash Sentry. Now, before you all start screaming at me in the comments, I am not talking about whether or not he would be a good fit for Twilight. This is just about Flash Sentry, and even more specific, Pony Flash. Because they're a confirmed adult, and I don't want to have to deal with the whole, but the Equestria girls, they're teenagers discussion. So, Pony Flash, he's cute, seemingly a little bit shy, part of the Royal Guard, and he has a pretty nice looking main style. As a character, he is not really interesting because he was just completely forgotten about, making just 3 appearances outside of the Equestria Girls movie, only one of which he actually speaks in. So, I don't really have much to go off of, but since he is very cute, I'll place him right above Alphabettle. Another one that's going to be pretty high up on the list is Hitch, the last G5 character for this video. It shouldn't be a big surprise why he's so high on the list. He's very handsome, he's hot, he's a sheriff, he's very kind. Did I say he's hot yet? And he's also able to stand up for himself if needed. He's just overall good vibes. Now, the one big downside would be Sparky, who is somehow even more annoying than Spike. But since so far we've only looked at the ponies themselves, not the environment around them, it's just Hitch on his own for now. And looking at what we have on the board so far, I'm just boldly gonna put Hitch in first place. Another stallion not many people are going to enjoy is Pharynx, Thorax's brother. Sure, he's a little edgy, going through his whole "mom, it's not a phase" era, but he honestly seems like a sweetheart. Maybe this is just me hard coping because he's the closest thing we're getting to an emo character on this list, but I really like his design. Both pre-reform and after. Maybe even more than the actual reform changeling designs. As for his personality, yes, he's a little distant and constantly on edge, a little judgy, and he will tell you if you screw up somehow. But he's also very protective and will do anything to protect the ones he cares about. It feels like he deserves a spot in second place, right below Hitch. Since Pharynx is portrayed as being somewhat evil, let's use that to circle back to the villains yet again, and hopefully we can actually finish them this time. The next one is Grogar. Now, I'm not really too sure how to interpret this one. The Grogar we see in the show is just Discord putting up an act, but since he's really bringing the character to life, we're just gonna rank Grogar as he is during this 9th season. And honestly, I don't really vibe with his attitude. I get the idea of tough love and trying to force the villains to work together, but I'm personally just not that much of a fan. He does look somewhat good though, which counts for something. But to me, Grogar deserves a spot right above Quibble Pants. The next villain is Iron Will, who just barely made the cut, having a total of 2 non-background appearances in the show. But both times, he's the focus of an entire episode. And how do I feel about him? Simply put, no. Just no. To me, there's barely anything that makes Iron Will appealing. He's annoying, angry all the time, and always tries to scam ponies. The only upside he has is that he's buff and shirtless all the time, which will get him a place above bulk biceps, but not quite on the level of Mr. Cake due to the lack of personality he has. So there's 2 more villains left, the first of which is Lord Tirek. I personally never really enjoyed Tirek as a character. He was a great villain, there's no argument there, but beyond that, his design, personality, and just overall vibe are kinda meh. I think he'd be right around the level of Iron Will, because, you know, buff and shirtless, but I'd rank Tirek a little bit lower. So where we just moved Iron Will above bulk biceps, let's put Tirek right below him. And lastly, for the villains at least, it's King Sombra. You can probably guess just about how this is gonna go. Even though Sombra only has like 5 minutes of screen time and not even 10 lines of dialogue, he is awesome. I might be biased because I read all the comics, which goes a lot deeper into the backstory and lore, but I just really love his character. He's got the looks, he's got the attitude, he's powerful as hell. What more do you want? Honestly, I'm sorry Hitch, but Sombra is going to claim the top spot for now. Maybe even for the rest of the video, honestly. With all the villains done, let's cycle back to Pharynx, who we used as a segue to go into this bit. Because it seems only right to also cover Thorax. You know, you want to make sure he doesn't feel left out after he covered his brother. He's sensitive like that. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things about him. His first appearance in The Times They Are a Changeling is really adorable. He's so shy and nervous, and he honestly makes the first part of this episode bearable. Until Spike ruins it with a song afterwards. That innocent vibe he has even stays after the Changelings reform and he becomes the leader of the Hive. He's trying his best, even though he has absolutely no idea what the hell he's doing, and I love him for it. Plus, honestly, as controversial as this opinion might be, I really like the Reformed Changeling designs. Thorax genuinely looks really good in green. But, where do I place him? I don't think he's quite on the level of Sombra for me, but he's definitely above Thunderlane. So, who do I like more, Thorax or Hitch? Nah, okay, Hitch is far too pretty and charming. I'm sorry, Thorax, you go into 3rd place. Now, I need to hurry up a little bit, because this video is already running longer than my usual content does, so let's do some of these last ones in pairs. First off, Gallus and Sandbar, who, according to some of your comments under my ships video, are quite often shipped together as well. I never really paid attention to that specifically, but I do really like the both of them as characters. Then, again, I quite like most of the Young Six in general. For Gallus, I think I like him more than some pony like Alphabiddle, but not as much as Discord, for example. I think right below Flash Sentry is a fair spot. Sandbar does deserve a little bit higher in my opinion, as I vibe a lot more with his personality, so I think he can go right above Discord. There are also 3 pillars in the list: Rockhoof, Flash Magnus, and Starswirl. Personally, I don't really care much for Rockhoof. Sure, he's strong and all, but his story is kind of lame. His whole simplistic personality also just doesn't really work for me. I think he can go right below Tirek in this ranking. Starswirl is kind of the same in that regard. He's very clearly an elitist dick. He barely acknowledges Twilight during his first appearance in Season 7, just because he doesn't believe she's got any sort of significant knowledge that can help him. If that were me in that situation, good chance I would have sent him back to Limbo right away. He can honestly go almost all the way to the bottom. Not quite as far as Zephyr or Naysay, but he and Garble have very similar personalities, and at least Garble is somewhat hot. And the last pillar is Flash Magnus, who is honestly kind of attractive, but unfortunately we don't really see much about his personality other than his heroic backstory. But from that little snippet, we can already see his loyalty and his willingness to do whatever it takes to get the job done, and his leadership abilities. His biggest downside is honestly his name. Flash Magnus? It sounds like an old man's name. Which does kind of make sense as they were born literally hundreds of years ago, but at least someone like Starswirl the Bearded or Mage Meadowbrook sounds cool. Magnus just sounds like he belongs in a retirement home. Anyways, right, the ranking. From the current list, I think he has the most in common with Thunderlane, both being strong flyers and part of some elite team. And I do think I prefer Flash's heroics over Thunderlane's dullness, so 4th place it is. Some of the last Stallions we still have left, I think we can label under Main 6 adjacent. Cheese Sandwich is with Pinky, Shining Armor is Twilight's sister, Soren and Dash are both Wonderbolts, and Mudbriar is dating Pinky's sister. But which of them is superior? I am honestly just gonna dismiss Mudbriar right away. He's annoying, I don't like him, and I would likely not be able to deal with his constant corrections if I ever met him. He also has about 0 personality, which is honestly better than some of the other ones we have near the bottom of the list. So let's just place him right above the bullies. I also don't care much for Cheese Sandwich, honestly. He's a funny character, no argument there, but he'd be way too much for me. I like myself a good party, a good prank, or a party prank as much as the next Pegasus. But holy shit, man, take a chill pill every now and then. I don't need streamers or whoopee cushions in, on, and around my body every second of the day. Just calm down. Because of that, I think he deserves a spot near the middle, somewhere around Quibble Pants. But where Quibble's got at least somewhat nice looks, I can't say I feel the same towards Cheese. Meanwhile, you have Soren, who is a Wonderbolt just like Thunderlane, who has his stupid moments just like Thunderlane, but he also seems to be the second in command of the Wonderbolts, unlike Thunderlane. Additionally, I also just think Soren looks better. His main style feels a lot more natural compared to Thunderlane's wannabe mohawk. I think it's clear that he at least deserves a spot above Thunderlane. But is he better than Flash Magnus? In name, absolutely. Soren is a fun play on words that is much more enjoyable to say. Personality-wise, I honestly also think Soren has Flash beat. He seems to be a lot more timid at times, whereas Flash is a lot more rebellious and in-your-face, similar to Rainbow Dash. So Soren moves up to the 4th spot. And for the last one, Shining Armor, one of the poster boys for Stallions in the show. Screw the Hitch calendar we see in the G5 movie. Where's my Shining Armor calendar? Wait, shit, that would actually be a really good idea. Anyone down to make an MLP Stallion calendar sometime? Hit me up. Anyways, looks, check. Powerful, check. Popular guy who is secretly a massive nerd, which is way cuter than I'm willing to admit. 1000% check. Yeah, no, Shining Armor is one of my favorites on this list. Anyone below Sombra can immediately move aside. Shining Armor is either in 2nd place or in 1st. I won't get much further comparing their looks because both Sombra and Shining Armor are perfect already, but their personalities are quite different. Sombra is this angry, overwhelming presence, meanwhile Shining Armor is just this silly little guy. And I think I prefer Shining Armor in that case, giving him a very justified first place. Now, I'm sure some of you have been screaming at me in the comments already that I excluded Big Mac from the Ponyville residents and the main 6 adjacent categories, or Flim Flam from the villain section. But I figured it'd be more fun to end this video with a section dedicated specifically to the apples. And yes, I know Flim Flam aren't part of the apple family, but their beef is exclusively with Applejack and the others living at Sweet Apple Acres, so I figured it was only appropriate. So let's just start with them. Flim Flam are fun antagonists. The episodes they feature in are always very silly, except Friendship University, that one was kinda shit. But, you know, that smug attitude they always show up with does have its charms, what can I say? Just for that, I think they deserve a spot above Cheese Sandwich. But since they're always together and are so similar, how can I possibly rank them separately? Fortunately, their designs come in clutch here, because Flim is completely clean-shaven, while Flam is rocking his mustache. And while the facial hair does work for the whole scamming business, it just doesn't look very good. Sorry, Flam. Now starting off with the actual Apple family, and one of the first stallions we see in the entire show, it's Big Mac. And yeah, what can I say? We all know him, we all love him, and as a matter of fact, some of the ponies we see during the show really love him, to the point that there's literally a whole comic arc about Big Mac, where the side plot involves multiple ponies having a massive crush on him. And honestly, if you're looking for a strong independent stallion to take care of you, I'd know who I'd try to hit on first. Though I don't think I like Big Mac as much as I do with Sombra or Shining Armor, mostly because of how shy Big Mac actually is and how little he tends to say. But if it's between Big Mac and Hitch, the choice is easy. The next Apple Stallion we meet is none other than the overexcited Braeburn. And honestly, how can you not love him? He is genuinely one of the most silliest characters that I truly enjoy. He unfortunately doesn't have much screen time during the show, but when he does, it's nothing but eye candy. His appearance in general, his countryisms, I'm here for all of it. At first I thought with me covering Big Mac, the final 3 were going to be final, but I'm honestly not sure. Where Big Mac has the looks, but lacks a bit on the personality front, Braeburn has a bit less looks, but an overflow of personality. You know what? I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and make a very bold choice. Braeburn claims first place in this ranking. Sue me. I'm sure editing Lumin loved moving all those 30+ characters right at the end of the video. But fortunately, there is one more to go. And remember how just now I mentioned that Big Mac's main flaw was his lack of personality? What if we have some pony who has both the dashing looks and sturdy appearance that Big Mac has, but also the charming and bright personality to go with it? Last on the list, Applejack, Big Mac, and Apple Bloom's dad, Bright Mac. Now, I'm specifically talking about Bright Mac as we see him towards the end of the Perfect Pair episode, because otherwise he's either a child or, you know, dead under mysterious circumstances. I know he technically only has one speaking appearance during the show, but like, look at him! How can I not include all of this? Let's be honest. Regardless, because of what I mentioned about his personality just now, in my very professional stallion enjoyer opinion, he is already slightly above Big Mac in the list. But better than Sombra and Shining Armor? Honestly, yeah. Where Sombra has his intimidating presence and Shining Armor has his silliness, Bright Mac just has pure charm. But I don't think he could quite claim first place. Braeburn has his whole country charm, which is really hard to compete with, no matter how handsome you look, leaving Bright Mac in a very well-deserved second place. So, editing Lumin quickly interrupting here. I know this is supposed to be the end of the video and all, but just as I was wrapping up the editing, I realized that all the way at the beginning of the video, I used Sunburst as an example of a stallion with multiple speaking roles that would be included. But, as you and I can both see on the chart here behind me, there is a surprising lack of Sunburst on there. Yeah, turns out I just totally forgot about him. So without having to ask for more unicorn assistance to redo this entire video thing, let's just discuss where he would be placed instead. I hard vibe with Sunburst's sort of shy and anxious personality when we first see him in the Crystal Empire. And if that was it, I'd probably put him right below Sombra. But he also has his looks, which I'm not that fond of. He looks good, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like the goatee at all. Even less so his full beard we see in The Last Problem. For that, let's move him down right between Hitch and Thorax. And now, giving it back to past Lumin to actually finish this video. And looking at the completed list now, I can't say I'm very surprised. Some of the most handsome characters are at the top, while the most yikes ones are near the bottom. I'd love to hear all of your opinions on the list, and of course where you'd draw the line. Mine is right here, and if you know, you know.